I'm thinking of your famous joke. I want you to do it, but I went into a restaurant that said they serve breakfast anytime.
So I ordered French toast during the Renaissance.
It's just like, I have always had this theory that a good joke actually has weight, like the way an element does. Like you can almost feel the weight of it in the palm of your hand.
It's fascinating, the details of it all. Not connected to time. But that French toast joke, that was one of the only jokes I ever adjusted. Because usually when I think of something, then I think of the wording, bang, 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 and then that's it. It's never changed. But that joke, it wasn't the Renaissance. It was something else. Mm-hmm. I don't remember. It was another reference to time.
Right.
But it wasn't the Renaissance. And then I thought, well, I'll change it to the Renaissance. And then you connect the French, it connects more.
Yes.
So it's just like, it's fascinating, the details.
But what was your method? Would you sit and like, I mean, I'm fascinated by how people do it. Do you sit with a legal pad, typewriter? What were you doing? I mean, and you think I'm making a joke with typewriter. I actually do write stuff on a typewriter because I have some old typewriters, and I just love the mechanism of it. And I love the kind of, I think I think a little harder when I'm working on a typewriter because it's being put on paper and it feels a little more formal.
It's more of a physical combination of thing rather than a computer.
Yeah.
There's an physical effort. In the first 6 months, I would get the newspaper out and look through it and see if something would click, like to find a joke. But then after like 6 or 8 months, my mind became, because it's all based on what you notice, right?
Yeah,
all the comedy is noticing. Mm-hmm. So my mind just became noticing. I didn't no longer look at the paper. It was just like you go out and you just notice. And it was like I have one of my favorite jokes I ever did. It was I was looking through the paper and I saw electrolysis. An ad for electrolysis. Mm-hmm. And I thought, what a word. The sound of that word is interesting and what it means is interesting. So then my mind later came up with I lived in a building, they allowed pets, and I had a pony. I had a Shetland pony named Nicky, and he was involved in a bizarre electrolysis accident. All the hair was removed except for the tail. Now I rent him out to Hare Krishna family picnics. But I drew a lot. Before growing elementary school, high school, drawing and painting, before I ever wrote anything. And when you draw something, you notice, realistically. I changed to abstract in my 20s, but before that, it was real. Like, so you really notice stuff. Like if you're gonna draw this glass in this bottle, the shape of the glass and the shape of the bottle, but the shape in between it is also a shape. Yeah. And that helps you get it accurate, to make it look real. And I think that exercised my noticing abilities, like, because it's just like all the comedy is from noticing. In the tower in the airport, the tower they have with the radar.
Yeah.
So the radar sweeps like this, and then there's little dots of the planes. Mm-hmm. So my subconscious was scanning. I'm not walking down the street. I need another joke. I need a new joke. Right. I'm just walking down the street, but the scan is going like this, and it would just see something, a word or something, going, doot, doot, doot.
That's something.
Yeah, that could be something.
I know that you're into music and you're a musician, and I think there's such a connection between comedy and music. What I've always heard is when I read about great songwriters, they just say that they're doing the same thing. They're scanning and something hits them. And I think and it can be anything, but they're reading the paper and then they see a story. And
especially when you get doing it enough where you're making a living, even if you're just barely paying the rent, you're making a living from the comedy, $100 a week. That's 300, 400 pays the rent, and even less than that. So you have time. You don't have to go somewhere and do this. So you're wandering around, like a 4-year-old. You're just wandering. And to me, what you just said, to me, the world is made up of it's a giant mosaic painting. It's little tiny fragments that make up everything, and he's like, here's that guy died. And that's a tiny thing, and I've noticed things where I combine, this could be connected. This thing that has nothing to do with this does have a common denominator, maybe in the word or something. And then you combine. I'm not thinking when I make it up. I'm not going I'm not doing what I just said to you.
No. It's happening. It's happening.
It's like, that could mean that, and it's a bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, it's really cracks me up that my dad's a scientist, and he said once that he's not a good one. He's a shitty scientist. We don't even think he has a degree. He just walks around with a microscope that he found.
The microscope that he found?
Yeah, and he tied it, he wore it around his neck like Mr. T with a medallion. And he said, I'm a scientist. And then he'd just hang out at the train station all day.
The train station?
Yeah, eat grilled cheese sandwiches. We were like, he's a scientist. But he said, the job of your brain, the thing that's happened in evolution that's supposed to keep us alive is our brain making connections that make sense. Like, I've got a fire here and I've got meat here. When I cook the meat, it actually tastes a little better. I'm going to start doing that. And I think there's something with the comedians I really admire, like you, there's almost something, a miswiring that wouldn't work in evolution, but we're connecting things that shouldn't be connected. And my dad once said to me, and I've said it before, but he looked at me once and he said, it's interesting, because he's very honest and he's also very smart. And he said, you're making your living off of something that probably should be treated. And I realized he's not wrong.
That's hilarious.
It's taking, you can have breakfast anytime, or, the electrolysis joke. You're taking things and putting them together, and they live on completely different synapses that aren't supposed to cross. They're not supposed to be touching each other.
Yes.
But something's either wrong or right in a beautiful way, and that's what happens.
Somehow you see a connection.